From Power Women of India, I'm Simran Kaur, and welcome to Project Knock Knock, getting more women onto the boardroom. I met our guests for today a few months back at Starbucks. We both share a common passion of equality at the workplace. When we met, we spoke passionately about lack of diversity in the boardrooms. Now, a lot has been said, researched, and spoken about this topic. However, two facts remain. One, that adding diversity to the boardroom increases value for an organization. And the second is, in spite of that, representation of women on boardrooms continues to remain dismal. And so Project Knock Knock was born. The objective of the project is to bring on more women onto advisory roles relatively early on in their careers. And to continue on this discussion, I have with me today Dr. Ruchi Dana. Dr. Dana is a qualified medical doctor, a seasoned entrepreneur, and a business leader. She has an MBA from Stanford and is on the technology board of Dana Group of Companies, Duluth Medical Technologies, an NGO Arogya Foundation, and Cybersecurity Advisory Board, California State University. So, Dr. Dana, welcome to the
Thank
show.
you so
It's a
much, Simran.
pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much, Simran. It's actually an absolute pleasure to be here. This is a topic that I'm so much passionate about, and I recall the meeting that we had, and it's so good that you're putting this to action. Thank you so much, Simran.
Thank you for igniting the spark. uh, let me start with so you are on the board of four companies and they're very diverse. So your family business, a health tech startup, an NGO, and a university. So
Yeah.
tell us a bit about the journey to the boardroom. How did these opportunities come to you?
Yeah, so it's interesting, and I've tried to keep it much more diverse because I want to learn from each and every opportunity that I get. So,
Mhm.
like the easiest opportunity that I got was from some NGOs, and I used to volunteer with some NGOs previously back in school days as well. So I was always in touch with the community, and that actually helps quite a lot. But
Mhm.
like for some of the board positions, I actually had to work pretty hard, specifically for the university board position. But I really wanted to be on a university board because I thought that would give like some completely new set of learning, especially like how to design a course, what do universities look for, and even like pension funds and all those things of out of universities. It's almost like I didn't have any knowledge on that. Like, but since I have a very good academic background, I thought it would make sense to be on the university board. So that was the most difficult one, and for that particularly, I actually took a cybersecurity course and like met with a lot of people. And I know for sure cybersecurity is something that's important for the future,
Mhm.
and specifically important for board positions because in a number of boards, like even like in NGO boards, people always look for like data security and those qualities. So this was a strategic step that I took, but it was one of the most difficult boards to get onto. So the remaining boards is one is a family business. It's a diversified corporate company, and the other is a robotic surgery startup. So again,
Mhm.
it was because I had a healthcare background and I did my MBA from Stanford. So it's a team out of Stanford. So that's how I landed upon that role. But like I would say, like the most difficult role for me currently was to take the cybersecurity board, and maybe that was just difficult for me because it was a completely new field. I had no experience in cybersecurity before this, so I had to put in a little more effort to get on that board. But apart from that, I would say like getting like being in touch with the community, working for like volunteering with NGOs and various like community organizations, that will actually help quite a lot in terms of getting the board positions, because a lot of these positions are not really advertised. It's often by word of mouth that you end up in these positions.
So what I'm hearing is a lot of proactive approach, really
Yeah.
networking and getting out there.
Exactly. That's really true. In fact, for the NGO position, I actually met the founder at one of the conferences in Vegas. So she came up to me, and she's a really dynamic woman because she's working on early detection of breast cancer. So that was a topic that was really close to my heart as well. And
Mhm.
it's about like early detection of breast cancer in the most rural of villages in
So
India.
interesting to
So
hear
that was
that,
something.
there's also an opportunity to do very innovative kind of work also when you
Yeah.
could also be playing an advisory role in an NGO, right? So
Yeah.
that's a very interesting example.
Yeah, exactly. And even for COVID-19, the NGO is working a lot on various resources like telehealth and all the things that they were able
Right.
to do they're trying their best, and that's something that gives me a lot of satisfaction as well, because
Mm.
otherwise in corporate life your days are busy, and you are definitely able to add value, but like not make as much impact as you would make when you're associated with an NGO.
Hmm. So I think this is maybe I'll continue to the next question related to what you're saying now.
Yeah.
So some of the women say, okay, I need to focus on my career. I have children, I have the academics of the children. So why should I take out time to get onto a board, or what is the advantage in my career that can come out of getting onto advisory roles? So could you share some insight on that?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I understand women are always very busy, and specifically with work and life balance, it becomes pretty busy. But this is something that you have to set as a priority. Only then you'd be able to actually get on these boards. And the reasoning behind getting on these boards is definitely not just for the career, but even for your own satisfaction, even for your own learning as well. And in terms of career growth, it would actually make your career grow exponentially. It's not the
Mm,
immediate changes that you see, but like eventually, if you even if you change your company and all, if you're on some board positions, that will actually make your even your salary multiply many folds, because these board positions are really important, and they're considered to be very respectful as well, and it's only like people who can actually multitask and do multiple things, those are the people who actually end up on those boards, so they are much appreciated by various companies as well. So even in terms of like career growth, it would definitely help, maybe not momentarily, but in the long term it would definitely help. And in terms of satisfaction and learning, that's something that's based on your individual choices, but I would recommend, like, if you can take out like maybe just one day from a month, that's
mm,
actually enough to be on some board positions, and that could actually even make you gain perspective of new industries, new things, and like come out of your own bubble of your own
mm,
company, and actually interact with other people from other industries, other societies, and that actually broadens your own views, and you can always apply those thinkings to your own company later on as well.
mm. Very insightful. So basically, helping you also to keep a growth mindset and
Yeah,
better view on other industries as well.
yeah, sure.
In terms of commitment, time commitment, you said around a day. What kind of commitment is required, and what do the duties entail?
So, in terms of time commitment, there's some time that's required on the board meetings, but there's also some sort of research that is to be done. So oftentimes in the corporate companies, they give you some literature that you have to read prior to the board meetings, and that takes up quite a lot of your time. But it's also a very good way to gain a lot of information about a particular industry, like because you'll see like all the drivers of that particular industry, like with whether the payments are getting stuck in certain industry, or like what all is going on in that industry. So that's a one time commitment. But apart from that, it's the actual board meetings and the travel that takes you to the board meeting. So these are other time commitments. And in terms of the decisions that are taken in the board, there are a lot of decisions. It could range from various technical skills that you might have, but they also range on a lot of soft skills that are often overlooked by people, but like soft skills play a major role. In terms of hard skills, it's like if you are good at auditing or finance, then you can actually help in that way. You can help in the salary and the remuneration, or you can help in like making policies in terms of like maternity leave, parental leave, and all. And then there's always corporate governance and like strategic insights that you can give to the entire board. So these are things that are like some things that you can definitely add value on. But apart from that, if you're a lawyer, or if you are like from a particular niche industry, then you can definitely add value from that industry as well. But like overall, like broadly, it's mainly about corporate governance, strategic insights, and if you're good in certain things, you can definitely add value in that way as well.
Hmm. And did you get any particular kind of trainings? Did you have your resume looked at? What is the general interview process?
Yeah.
The
So
training.
I was actually on one board when but I just to get some confidence, I actually took a training, and that
Mhm.
was really helpful. And they looked at the resume, and they brushed it up as a little as well. And but in general, like in these trainings, they don't teach you much. It's just like like what all skills are there inside you that you can actually apply
Hmm.
in both. things. So it's mainly like looking into your own skill sets and see like what are your strengths and what all values can you focus on in the interview process or even in the actual job role. So that's how I ended up in these positions. But apart from that, training is not really necessary. It's not a prerequisite.
Mhm.
And like it's not like even the trainings are not very expensive, but I would like to say that it's not a prerequisite to any job positions, any board job positions. And there are a number of board job portals that are out there that can actually show vacant positions. And apart from that, I would say that networking is something that would always help in terms of getting these positions, like because it's always important to be in touch with the right people who are the decision makers for these board positions, because oftentimes these positions are not advertised publicly, and even if they are not like really promoted posts or something like that. So it's
Mhm.
like, so that's the reason it's good to actually be in the network, like stay in touch with people. And if there's some, if even if you see a news that some board member is like leaving the board, then you can actually reach out to the company and see if there's a vacancy available. And these proactive approaches actually help quite a lot in the long term.
Mm. Any example you would like to share with us where you felt you brought in a special perspective from your side, yeah, adding value onto the board? Yeah.
Sure, there are many times, but mainly I would say my main value add has been in the soft skills part, because I'm
Mhm.
a doctor, so I'm very good at listening, because that's what you, as doctors, you're trained to like take patients. Also, so those listening abilities actually help quite a lot in terms of like digging down to the root cause of a problem, because
Mm.
oftentimes in these board meetings, everybody is rushed for time and they don't actually uh, like make a lot of effort to actually connect with the founders or connect with the team to actually come up with the root cause analysis of the problem. But in my case, I actually took some extra time off. I had a coffee with the couple of founders that were there in this particular company, and I tried
Mm.
to understand like what was the reason between like them not getting along, because these were like best friends. And
Mhm.
eventually, I came to know that like one of the founders was given an operational role, and the other founder was given a fundraising role. And the one who was given an operational role, he felt that the job was very dirty, because he had to like go up to vendors and clients and all and follow up for the payments and all. While the person who was given the fundraising role, he used to like dress up very well and go to VCs and like show the
Mm.
pitch decks and all. So the one person who was given an operational role, he used to think that fundraising role is really glamorous and all, but that's not the truth, because
Mm.
when you're in certain situations, the grass is always greener on the other side. Even fundraising is a very difficult work.
Yeah.
So that was the root cause of the problem. And once we understood that this is the problem, then it was very easy to actually swap the roles, so that everybody could see like what's actually happening on the ground. And that actually helped make the company make tremendous progress over the next few months.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess when you're starting up, these organizational issues can play such a big role
yeah,
in how you go long term. Which we also at Power Women of India posted a few weeks back. So March 31st was this deadline set by SEBI for
right.
the listed companies in India, right? The larger ones to appoint at least one independent board director. And as far as I remember, yeah, over 1/10 of them missed the deadline, and they had a year to do it. So, I mean, you can't blame COVID for it. The lockdown happened only end of March, and they could have still done it virtually.
Yeah,
So, now when I saw it, I mean, it was quite disappointing. India is having such a huge transformation, then you still feel that why such a lax attitude from some of the larger companies in the country. Why do you think there is such a lax attitude towards bringing on diversity to the boardroom? And I mean, so many studies have shown that this adds on to shareholder value. So why does it still stay like a very much a men's clubhouse?
yeah. Oftentimes, what I've noticed is that sometimes the women that end up in these boardrooms, they get overwhelmed as well, because since it's an all male environment, it's and they try to make it very uncomfortable for women. So that's one of the reasons, but that not cannot be the only reason. But that could actually be the root cause for the reasons that women don't say yes for board positions. Then that's really surprising. So there was a study that came out from in the UK, and they said that okay, like all the big companies, they already had diversity, but what about the subsidiary companies? So because all of the subsidiary companies would have like a small office or something in different states and all. So what about those companies? So they actually had a deadline to actually appoint women board members to the boards. And so it was like almost like a decision that could have been like made very quickly. So the subsidiary companies actually worked towards that, but what they realized was that women were not ready to take these board positions. They would say that they don't know like what exactly would be the responsibilities, that they were not confident enough to say yes. While
Mm.
if you would have asked the same position for men, they would like easily say yes and jump on those positions. So there's also a little bit, I would say, lack of awareness in women in terms of like getting these board positions. They are not aware of these things. Only if they're aware, then they could actually proactively ask for these positions.
Proactively ask for
If you're not aware of these things, then you cannot actually do much. And even if you get asked, oftentimes they say no, they're not confident enough, and that actually reflects on your tone of voice and all as well. So the like the person who might be interviewing you, he might feel that you're not ready enough to be on the board. So that's another reason that affects like the entire circle of getting into board positions. So I would say like women, like what we can do from our side is like programs like this Project Knock Knock and other programs, so that we actually create some sort of awareness in women, so that they are aware, okay, this is something that exists and it's not out of my reach. I can easily get into these positions, and it's like taking small baby steps at a time, but actually being, and with every baby step that you take, you get more and more confident, and that's how you eventually reach up. I really love this quote by Oprah Winfrey. They say like, you get in life what you have the courage to ask for. So like
Mm.
instead of like being submissive and docile and all of that, it's actually good to actually ask for your own rights, ask for things that you think that you deserve. And even if the worst that would happen is like you would get a no, right? That's it. Like no, it's not the end of the world, but it's good
Yeah.
to actually be aware that. And again, like being aware of the kind of benefits these board positions would bring, apart from just getting recognized in your own community. It also helps in your like long time career growth, and it could be a good retirement plan as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's also been my experience with Project Knock Knock. I think we have to start really from awareness building because our community is full of women who are very, very successful.
Yeah.
And so, and I feel that many of them are could be a great pipeline to future board positions in the enlisted organizations. And if we could start with them early on in smaller, say, startups or SMEs or NGOs in advisory roles, there's a potential for them to grow into uh, future board positions in larger organizations.
Exactly.
Um,
It's really good to start early, because even though like the positions that you might get right now might not be very significant, but it's important to like learn from these mistakes as well, and take everything as a learning point. And eventually, like once you perform well in these board positions, you'll definitely become maybe the chair of the board or something like that. And you'll definitely like it'll open up many more doors and opportunities. So you might get into the board that you always dreamed of as well. And definitely like all of these positions actually reflect on your resume, and they are helpful in terms of like getting a major board position, like being on a public company board or any big thing that you really wanted. You can actually have that within your reach as well. But it's important to actually start early, and we all have skills that would be useful, and it would make a huge impact in these boards. So it's a question of being more confident, and like asking for the positions yourself.
hmm. What would be, say, if for women who want to get onto these advisory roles, Ruchi, in terms of three things that you would advise them to do to get onto these positions?
First of all, I would always say like it's really good to network, because
Hmm.
networking is something that would really help you in the long term, like in it, not just in board positions, it will also help you in terms of like maybe making a career switch, maybe, and like getting into an industry you never thought about. Networking is something that would, I think that the kind of efforts that go into networking, the kind of returns that come out of it are much more significantly higher. So it's really important to go out, meet people at various meetups, conferences. I think that's really good. Apart from that, I would say that it's important to start early, and not wait for the like for the main thing that okay, this is once I get this degree or once I like get
Mm.
this promotion, then I'll apply for board positions. It's not really that it's a long continuous process, and so it's really important to start early. And like especially in the Power Women of India group, I see like people are already so much experienced, so there's no question of even having a little bit of hesitation in terms of applying for any board positions. I think that's something that you can easily like even forget about. Like you are definitely capable to be on certain boards, and it could be like NGO boards, startup boards, corporate boards, university boards, or any other. Maybe there are also very good think tanks that look for like board members, and these think tanks actually are like they're in charge for designing policies for various countries, and also that could be an interesting board position as well. So it depends on your interest and like the kind of opportunities that are out there. And the third thing I would say is it's important to brush up on your skills. So this is a good
Mhm.
time. There's a lockdown situation. It's a good time to actually take some online courses. Maybe you feel a little overwhelmed by certain topics, so it's important to have like a refresher course. And these most of these courses are available for free online, so it's good to actually brush up on those skills, because these skills would definitely add a lot of value. Maybe you're feeling a little underconfident in terms of finance or like or certain things that you just get overwhelmed by like AI or something. But again, like these are things that are like at least getting superficial knowledge is very important, because and I certainly believe like polymaths are people that have a lot of knowledge on various topics, not in-depth knowledge, but superficial knowledge of a lot of
Mm.
topics, and they are the ones that are actually able to problem solve. Because if you go in depth in your own industry into like maybe a niche in your own industry, then you're able to solve problems for that particular thing, but you don't have a very broad perspective on various things. So at for example at Stanford, I took the Stanford biodesign course. So what happens there, it's at the intersection of various disciplines. So there are doctors, engineers, lawyers, PhD students, MBA students, and everybody adds a lot of value to the team, because like a doctor would never go beyond his chain of thoughts, right? He would never imagine that you can work without a stethoscope, but an engineer can always question that. So similarly, it's important to actually have like a little bit of knowledge on various things, so that you can actually become a much better problem solver as well and think out of the box.
Mm. So you again, I mean, you coming back more or less to different perspectives which come from diversity, right?
Yeah,
So we are, yeah, back to the same thing that if you do bring in more diverse perspectives, then you
yeah,
can create more value, more innovation, and which
exactly.
is precisely what should happen, right, in the boardrooms
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. No, that's precisely true, because the collective intelligence of a group is much higher than what a single person can give, or a single community who has a knowledge of just that industry. The collective knowledge of a diverse group is much higher than any of that, and
Absolutely.
that's really important.
Any advice before we close to the, especially to the community in Power Women of India, to take also Project Knock Knock further? I mean, right now we are more in terms of creating awareness. Tomorrow we have a session with Women on Boards UK,
Yeah.
where they'll also do kind of a small trainer how to training session on how to get on boards. So
Yeah.
any closing words, encouraging, I know, get these 200 women to get started. So we have at least five of them onto boards.
Yeah, I think this is a very good project, and I just hope like much more women are able to like be a part of such projects, because a lot of awareness is definitely lacking in women. And there's also a little bit of hesitation in terms of like, do I have the correct skills to be on these boards? And that's what we saw in the previous session as well. So I think like
Yeah.
that's something that can be easily relieved once we go through these training sessions, and all people will understand that the soft skills matter much more than actually the hard skills. And women have like excellent soft skills. They're excellent communicators, they're very good at listening, and these are the skills that actually help in the boardroom quite a lot, because it's all about like problem solving and like coming to the root cause of various problems. And that's where like women can add a lot of value. And even apart from that, women are like they are the main decision makers in terms of like buying anything, right? Even if like anybody is buying anything for the house, they would rely on the woman in the house, right? So that's where like a lot of FMCG companies, a lot of B2C companies are actually looking to have more women on board, because these are the people who, like, the women are the ones that are the actual decision makers, and they can actually look and feel the product and give like interesting
Yeah.
views on the product itself in the boardroom.
No, very interesting. There was actually recently I was listening to a podcast, McKinsey podcast, where they spoke precisely about this. Is that even in retail, where
Yeah.
women are kind of key, decision makers in terms of spending, still there are very few women on
Yeah.
the boardroom. Yeah. So yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Ruchi, for taking time out, for sharing your insight, for inspiring us all. I think it's a stellar work that you do, and this whole, this diverse portfolio of boards also that you have, and sharing what you learned from them and how you got them. I think that's pretty inspiring. Going to conferences, taking new courses, reaching out, networking. I think that's what we all should be doing to step up our game and to get those positions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simran. It was an absolute pleasure, and this is something that's very close to my heart. So, if anybody wants any sort of guidance, please feel free to reach out. I'll be more than happy to help out. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you so much. Take care. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Take care. Bye bye.